Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm Kel. I make comics you can read at kelmcdonald.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Elena Pete. I make comics that you can read at weregeek.com, and I make a whole bunch of streaming stuff here at twitch.tv/weregeekcomics. That's what I've been doing a lot lately. I was going through my last year stuff, and I was like, I did very little comics last year, but a whole bunch of stuff. I did lots of comics adjacent things. I'm gonna do the normal thing where I draw me and whoever I'm streaming with. Kel, what do you want to be drawn as this week?
A wolf, always a wolf. Why did you even ask?
Why am I asking?
Yeah, all
All right,
wolves all the time.
just a wolf, just a wolf. We're gonna
Woof
we're gonna
woof.
be howling at the moon tonight.
Good. It's fitting that your persona is a crow, because wolves and crows get along.
It's true, they're
Um,
buddies, they're
yeah,
buds.
yeah, it's important.
This this
Uh,
bird howling at the moon is making me very happy.
Um, I remember when I was still playing Animal Crossing, I invited someone to my island who was also a werewolf person.
But
Um, and they're walking around my island, and then suddenly I get a message from them, and they're like, "Oh my god, is your whole island only wolves?"
yup,
And I was like,
that was
"Yes,
the
that's
point.
yeah."
It
Um,
was really funny
if
because both you and my other friend are super into both Animal Crossing, or at least at the time, and wolves. So there was two islands of the wolves that I would go to visit.
well, I feel like my island of wolves is very typical of me when given a game that has no ending.
Right,
Because I make my own goal, and then once I finish it, I lose all interest in the game. I was
right,
like, well, I
right.
got my Wolf Island, so I'm done with all this. Uh,
Yeah, I'm giving your werewolf a tie because that's your thing.
yes.
There.
Uh,
It's us. Look at us. Howling at the
you should
moon.
probably you should look at your stream, huh?
Yeah, I
Can
should look
you
at your
share
stream.
your screen with me?
I can do that, and then I'll
Because
look at your stream just on my own.
yeah, because
Share my
as
screen.
we discussed this before going live, my computer does
I've
not
got
like
a
to share my
I've
screen
got a
and stream at the
fancy
same time.
connection. I went fancy on my computer.
Good, good. I like these howling at the moon things.
First one
Tonight
on the first try.
I am drawing a page of my comic You Are the Chosen One,
Nice.
which is about 23 kids that get the same prophecy dream. And it is exclusive to my Patreon at patreon.com/CalMcDonald. Um, and in this scene, the shithead atheist character is letting everyone know God isn't real. Uh,
What am I drawing tonight? I don't know. There's several things that I could draw. I'm very pleased with this drawing of us howling at the moon, but I'm going to start something else. What am I drawing?
um,
A Dragonborn lately.
the one time I played D&D, I was a Dragonborn.
Nice. I love Dragonborn.
Uh, it
If
fell
you're gonna
apart
play a fantasy
because,
game, be a dragon.
yeah, it fell apart because it became very clear that I don't like D&D, and me and the other players had different goals and what we wanted from a game.
That would do it.
Um, I just found the fighting very monotonous in D&D,
You are not wrong.
um,
It is my least favorite part of
and
D&D.
and that is kind of what everyone else wanted to do.
Yeah. That's
Um,
the same thing with me and playing D&D. So I'm not against fighting in a role-playing game because I quite like playing Shadowrun, and that is all about like big, long, drawn out fights, but they're very cinematic, and if they are run right, it feels like you're watching an action movie. Whereas most D&D fights just feel like you're watching a video game, like a really early D&D based video game. Because it all
Mm-hmm.
tends to come down to like, I hit, I do this much damage. Okay, now you go. I hit, I do this much damage. And I know there's
Yeah.
DMs who will try and describe the action to make it more exciting, but that doesn't tend to be the case.
Yeah.
And even then, the rules don't support a really fun cinematic combat experience like they do in other games. So it all just tends to come down to you hit, you miss, you hit, you miss. And I find it very boring. I'd rather be role playing,
Yeah.
unless unless the combat has like a good stakes to it, where it's like, so we're fighting, but we're fighting to try and get to this bridge before the bad guy can like cut
And
us
I
off and leave
think
us on the other side.
it was also so yeah, it was kind of like that, but then also the story wasn't really moving very fast.
Yeah, that's always rough.
Um, and I kind of didn't know why we were doing anything.
Yeah, that sounds like a rough first game to jump into. Did
Um,
I ever tell you about my first experience playing D&D?
no, please share.
It was awful. So I was 15?
Mhm.
Well, no, 16, because I had my first job. And I met this guy at my job who was super into D&D, and I was really excited because I'd been playing Mushes and other role-playing games for like many years. And I'd always heard about D&D and wanted to try it. So he invited me over to try his D&D game, and I was super excited. And I made a character, and I spent like a bunch of time writing up a backstory. They were a elven ranger with a cool little hawk companion.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I get to this guy's house, and it's like real sketch. Even though it was in his mom's basement, like the stereotypical a D&D game at this guy's mom's basement. It was like really sketchy. Like there was like nudie posters all over the place. And when I got there, it was just like a whole bunch of teenage dudes.
Cool.
And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel safe at all. I hate this. This is bad. Uh, and then within like 10 minutes, all of the characters were dead when we started
Mhm.
playing. And I was like, well, that sucks. So we made up other characters. And then I was gone for the next week. And when I came back, they had sexually assaulted my character, and she was pregnant and like described it to me in great detail. And I was like, cool, I'm leaving. This is not safe. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that put me off of D&D for a good many years.
Yeah. Whereas I was just like, I don't think this fighting is. We're not jiving. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I was playing a Dragonborn who was a
Nice.
bard.
Nice.
Um, and I think the other thing that tripped up the other people that I was playing with is they kept wanting there to be like backstory elements to my character, but I was like, my
Hmm.
character's a teen. This is the backstory.
Yeah. I'm here.
uh,
That is my backstory. I'm a
yeah,
teenager who's come
I'm
to
here and
adventure.
I'm excited to be here. Like, um,
Which could so easily be such a cool character concept to play with. There's been plenty of
uh,
cool. I'm an excited adventurer.
yeah.
And then I get to learn how adventuring kind of sucks a lot of the time. Actually, it's very dangerous, and you can lose people that you care about. Those are fun stories. Playing
I love
can be so fun.
writing shitheads. Uh, if you can't see the dialogue, the atheist is saying, it's not Fluma. She's not real. How do you know? Have you ever seen her? Um, outside the temple. And then they're called on, like, being a dick.
Nice.
It's like, have you ever seen God?
Well, I mean, that's kind of some of the point of We're the chosen ones, right? It's like a bunch of shitty teenagers are all like, no, I'm the chosen one.
Not all of them are shitty.
Right,
It's all they get different the point is they all have different reactions to the dream. So,
right.
this one thinks it's a hoax and falls down a conspiracy theory hole.
Ah, exciting.
So they very quickly turn into that Charlie Day meme of him with the wall of
And
papers.
yeah.
Yeah,
Conspiracy wall.
yeah. Pepe Sevilla, who's Pepe Sevilla, and it's Charlie just can't read the Pennsylvania.
Good.
I don't know if you've ever seen Always Sunny, but Charlie's
Oh,
illiterate. Yeah.
good. Good.
So he is assigned to the
Pepe
mailroom.
Sylvania.
He is assigned to the mailroom and is like, all these letters are for Pepe Sevilla, and there is no Pepe Sevilla.
Good. Oh, hey, Two Spirit. Good to see ya.
Hi.
Hey, it's my pal. They are
Cool.
here. They also stream
Uh,
and are rad and do cool art.
um, and then in my chat there is Puka Dagger, which is my little sister.
Aw,
My little sister said, "I think the Adventurers League D&D event is a good first experience because the DMs are encouraged to be descriptive and are helpful to newbies."
good.
Um,
That's very important.
yeah. And for me, it was just I the friend I was playing with was like, whenever a fight started, you could tell there was a timer for Kel's attention span, and
Mm-hmm.
if the fight wasn't
Mm-hmm.
over by that time, um, I sort of just mentally checked out.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I totally feel you.
and I
There
think that
are,
is, yeah,
yeah,
that's why I am tempted to try out Monster of the Week,
yeah,
since that's like designed to have quick fights.
yup. Or like other role-playing systems. So I'm really excited. This Friday I get invited to a another charity game, and we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
trying out Wonder Home, which is this indie RPG that I'm really excited to try, where you all are playing sort of characters, but you can switch up which character you're playing if you wander across somebody else that you want to explore their story. So
Mm-hmm.
you're all these animal people in this cute kind of like Beatrix Potter world,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're describing your cute little journey and the places that you wander through, and you're trying to make really descriptive and kind of homey, kind of cottagecore vibes. Um, but if say you're like playing this little like skunk pastor, and you're kind of getting bored, but you meet this really cool like lizard adventurer,
Mm-hmm.
you can suddenly be like, hey,
I'm
actually,
the
can I play the
lizard
lizard
now.
adventurer instead?
Yeah,
Yeah, and the skunk guy's gonna stay at this town, and like that's where he's opening up his
his
parish or
shop.
whatever. Exactly. And then you can be that guy and like be a different character for a while. And it's neat. You kind of make like a little Miyazaki cozy journey together
Cool.
through this world, which is neat.
Um, Now I'm just thinking of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Um, it is about the worst people in the universe.
Mm,
Uh, and like, so I showed it to Amanda, and Amanda
yeah,
does not like Seinfeld because the people are too awful in it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
but
kind of
sh-
by design.
but she can watch Always Sunny because they're kind of so bad it's cartoonish. Like it goes so far. Like you could plausibly meet someone like the cast of Seinfeld.
Yes.
And while you
But
could
you could not
still,
meet these people.
well, you could, um, but like you gotta really dig for
Anything
those.
redeeming about them.
Yeah, like because they're so irredeemable, they can't hold down jobs.
Right.
Uh, and they're like a weird codependent mess of awful. Um,
Ooh, yeah, I don't know that I could handle this show.
I feel like the episode I tell people, like, if you don't like this episode, you won't like Always Sunny. It's an episode called Hero or Hate Crime. And it is about the gang. They have hired an arbitrator to determine which of them owns a lottery ticket.
Right.
Dee, the one woman of the group, part of what makes Always Sunny great is Dee is just as awful as all the guys.
Right.
She is not the voice of reason. No one is. So
All of these awful humans running around.
Yeah, Dee says she bought the lottery ticket, so it's hers.
Right.
Dennis, her brother, says he gave her the money that she spent on the lottery ticket rather than buying what he told her to buy, or spend it the way he told her to. So it was with his money, so he should own it.
Yeah.
Dee then says, I was never going to buy... I was never going
the thing
to...
that you wanted me to buy.
Oh, what he wanted her to do was to tip the underage cashier of the convenience store and say, this is from my brother. So when she eventually turned 18, she had positive feelings toward her brother.
Woof. Gotcha.
And so...
Just a little grooming from this awful human.
Yeah, there's a joke that Dennis might be a serial killer. That's like a running gag in the show.
Right.
Then the lottery ticket blew away, and Mac found it.
Yeah.
And so that's his argument: finders keepers. He found it on the ground. He picked it up. It's his.
Yeah.
And then a piano almost fell on Mac's head. And it only didn't fall on his head because Frank, played by Danny DeVito, the father of Dee and Dennis, saw this was happening and shouted, "Hey, F-slur, look out."
Gotcha.
And then Charlie kicked Mac out of the way so the piano did not fall on him. So Charlie and Frank's argument is that they saved Mac's life.
Therefore, he owes them.
They should at least split the ticket with them.
Right.
Charlie is quickly dismissed because Mac is like, I could have gotten out of the way on my own.
Right.
Which just leaves Mac and Frank. And Frank is saying if he hadn't said, "Hey, F-slur, look out,"
he would be dead.
He wouldn't have noticed. No one would have noticed the piano. And then Mac says, because you said F-slur, it's a hate crime, and you cannot be a hero and commit a hate crime at the same time.
Good.
So then the discussion of the episode becomes whether or not Danny DeVito's character is a hero or committed a hate crime. So the whole episode is in like the arbitrator's room while they argue.
So it's a bottle episode then.
Yeah, well, like you do see like flashbacks to the event.
Yeah. But generally, you got a couple sets, and it's not too bad. That's a nice cheap episode to produce.
So it's a lot of stuff like that. And so I was like, that is the best encapsulation of Always Sunny, because they're arguing over a lottery ticket. It's a scratch ticket, and no one has scratched it yet. Yep. So they don't even know if it's a winner. And they're having this long argument, and they're paying an arbitrator. So at the end, they get a bill for $10,000.
Good. I'm sure they won 0.
Oh, no. They won $9,997. But yeah, and it is the newest season has them go to Ireland because they own an Irish pub. And O'Brien from Star Trek is a guest.
Good.
And it's a very funny show full of terrible human beings.
No, there was quite a lot of sitcoms on in that period of time that I picked one or two and stuck with, but did not
Well,
get around
Always
to the
Sunny
rest.
is still going.
It's true.
But yeah, like there are running jokes that Dennis, the one that wanted to groom the underage cashier, might be a serial killer because he has a
Yep.
lot of duct tape and rope and gags in the back of his car.
Or just into some BDSM, whatever, you know.
And
Maybe not
then
the
there,
duct tape.
one of the most famous episodes is called the Dennis System, which is how
Oh,
he
God.
emotionally abuses women systematically.
Cool. Nice guy.
Yeah. And then like people keep trying to argue that like Charlie Day's character is the only decent one out of all of them. But then you occasionally get reminders that he's also an awful person.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't the joke that like all of them are awful?
So it's like they're all awful in different ways. Like
Yeah.
the joke about Dennis is that he's a sociopath, might be a serial killer.
Right.
And Dee is a self-absorbed failed actress who's got like a million neuroses, but is also just a shithead in general.
Yeah.
Then Mac's whole thing is that he is obsessed with action movies and is really Catholic. He's like toxic masculinity as a person. And it was
Gotcha.
recently revealed that he's gay. Like there was a running gag build up that he was gay and repressed.
Yep.
And
And
in
now it's
Hero or
out.
Hate,
He's like, yep.
yeah, and he's still like toxic masculinity as a person, but he's
Yep.
also not very bright. And then Charlie is like a just a feral human being.
A gremlin. An actual
Yeah,
gremlin.
he
Good.
huffs paint and eats cat food every night.
Oh, good. Yep, that's good for you.
Yeah. And
Full of fiber.
and that's why people are like, oh, he's the best one out of them, because since he's just feral, he's rarely
Objectionable.
like he's rarely malicious in a way that is thought through.
Right. It's all just random chaos.
Yeah. He is the one in the
goblin. He's just a goblin.
He's the one in the Pepe Sevilla meme.
Gotcha.
And doesn't know Pennsylvania is a word.
Where he lives.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's like in the first season he faked having cancer so the girl that he liked would sympathy bang him.
Right.
So he's obviously not that that good a person. And then Frank, who's Danny DeVito's character, is just a horrible, wealthy white man who they introduce him, and you understand why Dee and Dennis are awful people because they learned it from watching Danny DeVito's character.
Gotcha.
And it's stuff like in the Christmas episode, it's revealed that every Christmas he would find out exactly what they wanted for Christmas and then would buy it for them himself to rub
Of
in their
course.
face that he has the thing that they greatly want. And if
Right,
they really
right.
want it, they should go make their own money. And so a lot of how does the gang survive day to day is because he's footing the bill for his amusement.
To watch them struggle.
Yeah. So if they hadn't won the lottery ticket in the episode that I told you about, he would have just paid the bill. Because he enjoys like watching them argue about nonsense for the whole day.
Dragonborn.
It's a good Dragonborn.
Yeah. I haven't been watching a lot of sitcoms lately.
I
I
just
plowed through Ted
rewatched Always
Lasso.
Sunny, but oh, how's
Gotcha.
that? I've heard good things.
Oh, it's really warm. It's very, it's like a hug. It's just a very
That's
comforting
good.
show.
That's good.
I got into it because we were discussing it in one of my writers' meetings. That people were just like, "You got to watch Ted Lasso." Like, there's so many things that we would need to talk to you about, plot-wise, with this. Like, you can have people who are good people, but still have challenges, and
Yeah.
and like the solutions for these challenges are not necessarily what you'd expect, but they all are really just about being empathetic to other humans, and I love that.
That's good. So it's like the opposite of Always Sunny.
Basically, yeah, yeah.
um, I just have rewatched Always Sunny a bunch of times, like
Hmm.
while working. It's very easy to turn on the background because it is mostly them shouting at each other.
Yeah, so I like shows like that where you don't have to necessarily look at the screen a lot. They're great for drawing.
Um,
I had to stop watching a lot of anime because I was just reading the subtitles or watching the action. I'm like, no,
oh
I'm not
yeah,
getting anything done.
that's why I don't watch
That's my treat
subtitled
for
anime.
after drawing.
I just watch dub anime
Yup.
because then I can draw while doing it.
Oh no, subs not dubs, Kel. Subs not dubs.
No, no, fuck that.
It's like 1995 all over again.
Um, I'm just thinking of now that I'm on the Always Sunny kick. I'm gonna link for you to watch after the show. A thing that is from Always Sunny but stands on its own, called Kitten Mittens.
Kitten mittens. That sounds very wholesome. I'm
Um,
sure it's not.
oh, it is actually wholesome. It's just funny because it's basically one episode is about Charlie invents kittens for cats, and the episode
Right.
starts with his shot at home commercial for them.
Oh, good.
Um, complete with him clearly reading a script off like slightly off camera, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
always looking very slightly to the right of the camera while doing his whole thing.
Good.
Um,
God, I bet that's fun to do as an actor where you're like, so I trained my whole career not to look at the camera, and now I must shoot a scene where I am very obviously looking at the
well,
camera
well, he's not looking at the camera. He is looking
or
like
at the
just
teleprompter.
slightly to the left. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
um, but it starts with is your cat making too much noise all the time? Because cats need mittens because their paws are just so noisy while they walk around.
Famously, cats and their loud feet, like
Yeah,
horses.
clearly.
Yeah. People are always saying, you're quiet as you're loud as a cat. That is not how to draw a hand, Alina. What are you doing? What are you doing?
The other thing I watch all the time is I love Mad Men.
Mm.
Um, I've watched it 90 bazillion times. Um, if someone ever said, Kelly, you have to talk for 3 hours nonstop,
About something.
um, I, yeah, about anything, I would probably just go off on Mad Men. Um, because there's a lot there, like
Hmm.
story
There's some
analytically and
meat.
structurally. Yeah, it's very crunchy. And they're doing a lot of things that you don't usually see on television. And it's a crime that John Hamm lost to Bryan Cranston for the Emmy all those
Oh yeah,
years because
yeah.
I don't particularly like Breaking Bad. I was just bored by
Yep.
it. Breaking Bad is how I realized that guns in a story bore me.
Mm. Breaking Bad is an interesting character study, and the people who seem to like it the most don't see it as a character study, but as like a, yeah, this guy is really rad, and he's doing exactly what you should, and you're like, no, that's the opposite. That is not the point of that. The point is a very normal man has become an awful monster
Well,
because
so
of his own
here's the
pride and
thing
hubris.
is I think he was always an awful monster and I
I
feel that
think
it's
so
not
too.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a power reveals story, not a power
exactly.
corrupts story.
Like the more they watch it, when you initially see him and his wife at the beginning of the series and they seem relatively happy, you're like, oh, they definitely were not
Oh,
happy.
he's obsessively checking the stocks of his friend's company. Like that's not the actions of
Yeah.
a happy man.
No, no,
Um,
this was not a happy marriage at any point.
yeah. Maybe she was happy.
Maybe because she kind of like blinded herself to a lot of his shittiness. Because that's a lot of what's expected from femme folks in
Yeah.
a marriage in that sort of traditional setting.
Well, it's also partly like he just like constantly had seething resentment.
For everything.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I think that it might be because um while seething in resentment, he was more or less okay being kind of bossed around by his wife.
Mm.
Um, that's why I'm like, maybe she was happy and slash content at least.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, once he started to like get power, like
It went downhill real
fucking
fast.
yeah. Um,
Beautiful character acting, some nice writing, but woof, a hard watch. Some of them episodes.
See, I was mostly just bored by it. Like, it's one of those
Uh,
things where I watched it because my roommate at the time was watching it, and then when I moved
yeah.
out, I realized I didn't really have the desire to go back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I just feel like Mad Men is just there's so many layers to it going on. like, and there's just a lot of like what they say, what they mean, which is really what they think they mean,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the thing underneath that, and just like um, it's very good that it's about an advertising company because
Mm-hmm.
advertising is all about like pretending something is better than it is.
Yep. And all of those
Um,
people are in some way pretending that everything is better than it is
yeah,
in their own lives.
and like I love Pete Campbell's character because he's such a horrible person, but he's also like oddly naive at the same time.
Huh.
Um, like Pete Campbell, um, is a shithead who's from an old money New York family. Um, like in the later seasons, his mom starts to have dementia, and the way he gets her to not leave the house is he lies to her and says it's St. Patrick's Day, so the streets are full of the Irish. Like, that's
Right.
how racist
Yeah.
his family is.
Yeah.
Um, um, and, um, like, but he is the most racially progressive on the show somehow.
Hmm.
um, because his parents hate him, and clearly his brother is their favorite.
Gotcha.
Um, and so he's like, that's unfair. Just like the way black people are
My
treated is unfair. Like,
right.
it's like, that's a weird way to get there, but that is better
You
than
you
everyone
you
else on the
got there
show.
weirdly.
Yeah.
Good points for that, but weird. Okay.
And he's progressive in the way of, well, black people have money, so we should sell things to
Right.
them.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is what
Uh,
got a lot of white people on board back in the day.
like
Well, they
if
have
it
money
took
now,
place
so.
like if it took place today, he would be the one arguing to put rainbows on everything in June.
God, yes. Oh my God.
Um
Look, it's a big demographic now.
and
We can sell to them. They've got money.
yeah. And so so the thing is like he's always right about the future, but he is the scummiest person in the office.
Right. But for like
Um
awful reasons.
uh and it's also, it makes him a great foil to Don Draper because Don Draper is so, his exterior is so like spotless and perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have Pete, who is so obviously a shithead,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also like he kind of doesn't know that he's being a shithead. Um, because look at where he grew up.
Right.
Um, and then so that makes every time Don stoops to his level, makes Don look so much worse because Don, in theory, knows better
Right.
and knows to like pretend to not care about things or like pretend to like nod or whatever.
Yeah. But just doesn't.
And so yeah, so it's every time he does stoop to Pete's level, it
You're
makes
just
him
like,
look a million
woof.
times worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like you know better, and that
But you did it
means
anyway.
yeah. Um,
And drawing gems is tough, y'all. Gemstones. What even? There's a lot of facets.
um, the atheist kid hired a wizard to help him figure out the grand magical conspiracy that he's convinced is there.
Nice.
And I keep referring to said wizard as Ketter's wizard friend. Because there's a great documentary about making the movie The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Mm, a good movie.
And making that movie is a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's what I'd heard. I don't know
and
the details.
it's great because they track down the director, and he's a lunatic. But also, you can see why the movie he wanted to make is interesting.
Mm.
And if they hadn't fired him from the movie, it might not
It
have
would have
been
been
good, but it at least would have been
better.
weird and like
Yeah.
worth seeing because of how weird it is. Um, and so he talks about how he was told they don't want him to direct it.
Yep.
And they're only going to make the movie if Marlon Brando's on board.
Right.
And they're asking, the director's recounting the story, and then he says, "So I called up my wizard friend," and he says this completely seriously.
Right.
And he had the
Like
wizard
everyone
cast a
has a wizard friend.
spell. Yeah,
Cool.
he's like,
Cool.
"So I
Yep.
called up my wizard friend, and he cast a spell to make me the director of the movie."
Good. Yeah, as you do
And then
when you have a wizard on call.
and then the executive that went with him to meet Marlon Brando apparently was having bad allergies, took some allergy meds, and then Marlon Brando's AC was broken, so it was really hot in his house. So the executive fell asleep, and then Marlon Brando and the director really hit it off. So Marlon
Gotcha.
Brando agreed to do the movie only if this guy's directing.
Right.
And he's like, so the spell worked. And, like, then
Was he a
they get,
chaos magician?
well, here's it. So it's like, then, like, the documentary continues. And you get to, like, the
what is
halfway
that?
point, and the director is still talking happily about the production, but, like, the crew is starting to see, like, the red flags.
Right, where they're like, oh, this is not going well. This is not going well at all.
Because it's stuff like the director insisted on picking this location in Australia because of the cool mountain that they can put in the background, and then it turns out that the weather covers the mountain for most of the day except for like 2 hours. So to get the mountain in the film the way he wants, they only have 2 hours to film every day.
Cool.
And
Good.
so it's stuff like that. But the director is just like, yeah, no, it's all going great. He goes, and then my wizard friend died, and all his spells came undone. And from the director's point of view, that's what went wrong. His wizard
Everything
friend
just
died.
went to hell.
Yeah.
I would argue. Things were bad before that, sir.
He
but
just
much
didn't
like
realize
White, you have
it.
deluded yourself that.
Yeah, because it's
it was
stuff
for some
like
other reason unrelated to you.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. Is when
Good.
Val Kilmer was like, "I'm too important to spend all this time filming your movies, so you're gonna pay me the same, but I'm gonna have a smaller part." And then they have to very quickly find a new lead, and
Right.
And then Val Kilmer is just super difficult. Marlon Brando's daughter commits suicide, and Marlon Brando like disappears. No one can get a hold of him. So, and the whole movie is only getting made because of Marlon Brando. So, is he gonna show up? We don't know.
Oh God.
And so and then the lead actress flees the set.
Cool. That's good. That's a healthy production, I'm sure. I'm sure everything was going very well.
And then like yeah, and so and then he's fired as the director, and he wanders off into the Australian wilderness. Obviously, they found him eventually because
He's still
they
alive and not
interviewed him
like
for this.
dead.
They interviewed him for this documentary,
The
but
wilderness.
like he just wandered off into the wilderness. Like he heard he was fired and then just walked away when they're
He's
in
like,
the
"What?
middle of like the forest. Like,
Good time for a walkabout. I'm just going. I'll see you later."
and then apparently he snuck back on set in disguise.
Good.
But yeah, so
A
it's
very
just
sane and sensible thing to do on your own movie set.
yeah. So I highly recommend this documentary about this train wreck
That
of a
sounds
movie.
great.
Yeah. But ever
Speaking of
since seeing it,
filmmaking, though,
yeah.
that's like there's a lot going on here, but it's not too far beyond the normal chaos of just shooting a film.
The thing is like
Filmmaking is chaotic.
it's just ever since he said, so I called up my wizard friend, I'm like, wizard
Yes.
friend as a phrase has been stuck in my head.
Good.
And
Sometimes
I'm like,
you have a
I'm gonna
friend who is a
use
wizard, Cal. That's just how
yeah.
this goes.
So I called up my wizard friend. Um
I mean, I have a few wizard friends I could call up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just gotta make sure they're in good health so their spells
Yeah,
don't
you
come
don't want their
undone.
spells coming undone.
Yeah.
Not when you're relying on them for your entire movie and for Marlon Brando's presence.
Yeah. I love behind the scenes shit like that.
Mm-hmm. I was always aware that Vancouver was Hollywood North and there's lots of films being shot here all the time. But man,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to know it and another thing to be like, oh, cool, I can't go town today because, you know, it's Superman is filming. Or worse, so there was this one little tiny local con I did that was like the Retro Gaming Expo that was in a
Mm-hmm.
theater downtown in New West,
Mm-hmm.
which is all built on a hill. And when I went in, everything was New West. And when I got out, it said it was in San Francisco, and that I was now at the San Francisco City Center Town Hall Police Department. And there was like
Huh.
a burning car in the middle of the street and like rubble everywhere. And I was like, what is filming here? Cool. I'm in a different city than when I went into the building. That's fine. That's fine.
My little sister was chiming in on our Breaking Bad that, oh yeah, Walt was a fucker since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to at some point go back and rewatch the first season and just be like, I don't think their marriage was supposed to be happy even from the beginning. And I think I just naively assumed everything was fine because they looked happy. But I'm sure
It's
they put
yeah, I
some
feel
stuff into
like
it to be like, look, nothing's good here.
I feel
There's
like
some
it's
tension.
less happy, but more like the word would be they're complacent.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's a good word
and
for that.
and at least Sky is
Tyler,
content.
yes, that's her name. I was trying to remember
Skylar
it
is
earlier.
content.
Yeah.
Um uh and like the thing that I like about Mad Men when it comes to dysfunctional marriages is halfway through John divorces Betty.
Hmm.
And you get to see Betty's second marriage, and like Betty is still the same dysfunctional person, but
Right.
it's very clear that her second husband is a better partner for
Then Dawn.
her
Yeah.
than Dawn. Um,
Interesting.
um, because like Betty is a sheltered rich girl who married Don when she was 19.
Yeah.
Because she basically fell for his whole shtick.
And he's not a good
And
person, and he was not good to her.
um, and the thing is like he is very bad to her in like gaslighty, um, and also like emotionally neglectful way. And
Yeah.
because it is not a thing that is like violent or um, like just stuff like that, like it would be easy
Society doesn't
for
see it as
yeah, like
a
when she is
problem.
talking to a lawyer about getting divorced, he is like, is he a good provider?
Right.
And basically he pays all your bills, so who cares what he's doing when he's not at home.
Yeah, he's making all kinds of money.
Yeah. um
Because that's his whole thing. He works in advertising. He's Don Draper.
yeah. um and like he mistreats Betty. Also, oddly enough, Don Draper is not sexually satisfying Betty, um,
Mm.
because he has a weird thing about sex where he's very much like he's very into the Madonna whore thing, but doesn't realize he is.
Right, right.
So like Betty, as the mother of his children, um, he wanted that family, but now feels suffocated by it. And since his wife is a mom, he cannot sexualize her
In the way that he wants
um,
to. Yeah.
in the way that she wants him to. She horny as
Yes.
fuck. Um, and so yeah, I like it because it's like those complicated things where like getting divorced from Dawn and being away from Dawn does not fix Betty's
Yeah.
emotional problems,
Yeah.
but her
It is a
second
different
husband,
situation.
yeah, her second husband Henry is better at like um, managing her and getting her to calm down. He's very good at de-escalating
Right, right.
when she's upset. Uh,
I spent a portion of today uh, trying to sort out what my next year is going to look like. It's completely changing the subject, but like I was just thinking about
yeah, yeah.
sales and selling and merchandise, which got me thinking about conventions and
Mm-hmm.
how do you even plan for this year? Like nothing.
I
I've been planning
I
like cons are going to
reordered.
happen, but like,
Yeah.
man, they're probably not. At least some of
I
them.
don't know. I feel like Reed Pop's gonna chug along until the state tells them no.
They
And
probably
the
will.
state's not
Yeah.
gonna do that because the economy.
The economy, though. Well, and like
Mm,
Gen Con takes place in Indiana,
yeah.
uh, which doesn't have a great track record with like protecting its citizens. So,
And
yeah, I think it'll probably happen, and I'm conflicted about that.
and then San Diego.
Yep,
I reordered my Werewolf Expert pins.
cool.
And told the pin guy like, take your time. My
Yep,
next thing isn't till San Diego in July.
yep.
Um,
I am also going to be at San Diego. I didn't go for several years, and then 2020 was going to be my like, I'm going to try San Diego again because Sam did real good, and then it did not happen. And I've been
mhm.
sitting on those table fees for 2 years. And I'd like to do that show,
Are
but also,
you gonna
yikes, it's a
be
big
at
show.
the Are you gonna be at the Topodico booth or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that also includes me, so we
Oh,
will
okay,
be
cool.
tabling
So
together.
we will be at the same table. Nice.
Yes.
So we've both been sitting on those tables faced together.
I mean,
It's not a cheap
Sam
show.
has all. Sam has my money, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Same here.
I'm just like, that's money that's out in the ether.
It was 2 year ago money. I spent it when I had it, and now I will
Hmm.
have a table at some point when cons can happen. But I was talking to a guy. I was trying to get more booth setup stuff because we have such a big space at Gen Con. I was trying to find like more trade show stuff,
Hmm.
and there's this one guy who's selling off some of his trade show stuff because he got into trying to sell like something kind of scammy. I don't remember what it was at shows, and now he's like, nope, can't sell anything. I'm getting out of the game. You can buy my stuff. And I'm like, cool. You were trying to sell some kind of, I don't know, hair product or something. Uh, I'm going to sell some comics with your
Hmm.
really expensive setup that you're now selling for really cheap because you're getting out of the game. Haha, my gain. It's nice. It's like one of those arched, like an arched sort of convex tabletop display that's like 4 feet long. Should make for a decent backdrop on a table. And it
Cool,
packs down real small and real light, so getting it to and from cons won't be a pain in the butt.
cool, 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 cool.
Yeah. Facebook Marketplace coming through. Even if Facebook's super evil. Allows me to still garage sale in these COVID times.
Um, do you know Iris and Nero?
I think I've heard stories about them before, but I can't picture meeting them in person.
So Iris started a Discworld podcast.
Oh yeah?
Um, so I've been re-listening to Discworld books and then listening to her podcast.
Nice.
And it's funny, because they're like super duper leftists.
Mm-hmm.
So their guards episode description is all cops are bastards. Does that include the watch? Yes and no. Like, um,
Good, good. That's an interesting discussion.
and I told them that like, um, I if they need a guest for Fifth
Yeah,
Element,
yeah.
I'll come on and talk about werewolves.
Nice.
Because there's some interesting stuff about werewolves politically in Fifth Elephant, and as well as gender
Mm-hmm.
wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you remember the Fifth Element, the Fifth Elephant, but the werewolves are Nazis basically.
Yeah, right. Which is very different than other
Um,
fiction, in which, as we've discussed before, werewolves are the proletariat and vampires are the 1%. Which is why
yeah.
werewolves are super cooler. Also, they turn into giant wolves and they can eat your face, which is great.
So the YouTuber that I mentioned last time, Sophie from Mars.
Yeah, yeah.
They do these videos that are called Monster Men, and it's trying to like talk about the
Nice.
metaphor behind different types of monsters and why we tell those
Yeah.
why we share those stories. And so Sophie, while working on one on vampires, which is actually my least favorite video of theirs, is their vampire video. The this thing that they asked beforehand should have
Yep.
been like a clue that I was not gonna like their vampire video, because they were like, so a lot of vampire lore is steeped in anti-Semitic stories, and just applying those tropes to a monster rather
Right?
than Jewish people, like
Right.
them controlling all the money and their
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
and then also them
they can control your
stealing
mind. Yeah.
stealing blood, like, was a weird one.
Right.
uh so like a lot of these anti-Semitic things got then put onto vampires, and
Also
since they're
onto
not.
dwarves and goblins and just a lot of
So
things.
Sophie, while investigating
Just generally
vampires,
othering.
sees that, and then knows that the Nazis fucking love Rome and wolves. So has
Yes.
anyone done werewolves versus vampires, where the werewolves are
The
Nazis and the vampires are
right.
Jews?
And you
And
were like, no, but sort of.
well, it's like, no, because then you're making the blood sucking monsters Jewish people.
Yes.
Um,
Which,
and
that's not going to go over well.
that's not
That's
going to go over
bad.
well.
That's
And
bad. Don't do that.
also, yeah, well, that's why no one's done it. Well, there have
Yes.
been Nazi werewolves and Nazi vampires. No one has done that specific
Jewish
take.
werewolf or
That's
Jewish, yeah, Jewish
Jewish
vampires.
vampires versus
That's a
um,
problem.
Nazi werewolves. And it's, I did send them a message that was like, well, no one has done that because for that obvious reason. And I'm like,
Yeah.
also, werewolves as the misunderstood underclass has been a thing that's been going on since cinema. And there are
Yes.
actually some really good interviews with the guy who wrote the screenplay for The Wolfman,
Oh, cool.
who was a Jewish man that escaped Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he got out of there before the Holocaust started.
Dang.
And he said the Wolfman being seen as a monster as the moon rises, he's like, the full moon is Nazism rising in Germany. And
Huh.
it is making me as a Jewish man be perceived as a
As a
monster.
monster.
So it's the
Interesting.
moon, yeah, so it's the moon is fascism, and it's
Interesting.
turning him into a monster in the eyes of everyone else.
Right. That's interesting.
Um, and so that's sort of the gist of his take on werewolves as the underclass, which
Oh, I
then
like that.
makes it all the extra interesting is now that you know that the
Yep.
person who explains the werewolf curse to the main character is a stereotype of Romani people. But
Yes,
the
of
fact
course.
that he picked Romani, who were also persecuted by the
And
Nazis.
seen as monsters. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, yes, they're a racist depiction of the Romani, but it's interesting that that is the angle that he went, while thinking about Nazism turning him into a monster.
That's interesting. I
Um,
have also seen arguments, and can can argue some of them that werewolves in modern cinema are often portrayed um, very stereotypically and somewhat racistly as being indigenous. Like certainly in the Twilight films, it was just or Twilight books, they were like, yeah, the
yeah.
werewolves are native dudes. That's just that we're
Mm-hmm.
just going straight out and saying it. But like even long before then, White Wolf's depictions of like the werewolves in their
Yeah.
books are all it's like we're basically native eco terrorists, all werewolves. That's what werewolves are.
Well, so
Some of them aren't native, some of them are from other parts of the world, but they're all sort of like,
yeah.
we are tribal peoples from around the world who are
So
fighting
Olive,
against the werewolves or the vampires who are of the worm and want to destroy the earth
so
through pollution.
um, Olive, that works great for being anti-capitalist. Anyway, the vampires as destroying the world through pollution and corruption.
Yep.
Anyway, but
They literally are
all
agents of the worm, which is like entropy and corruption in the earth.
so Olive, who wrote Artie and the Wolf Moon,
Yep.
which is a
Oh, I
great
love Artie
middle
and the Wolf
grade.
Moon. Oh my
Yes,
god, such a good book.
yeah. So I was talking to
And the art
Olive.
is so good.
Yeah, no, Artie and the Wolf Moon, Chef Kiss, great book. I was
So
talking
good.
to
Everybody
Olive
read it.
about this, and Olive and I were mentioning that. So Olive was like, the indigenous angle is very
Werewolves.
easy to with werewolves is very easy to do because wolves are a creature that white people destroyed all of their habitat, and
Yep.
so it's like it's very
Yep.
easy to be like, yes, the indigenous people also had where they lived destroyed by
Destroyed.
white people coming
And they
in.
were
Like,
eradicated and hunted
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
scalps brought in for money. That's a real easy analogy.
yeah.
But also,
So,
like, you can go deeper on that
yeah,
analogy and double down and go, okay, well, they're also seen as being like very primal and close to the earth and
yeah. I meant
savage. There's
if you want to do
savagery.
it, if you want to do like a shitty comparison, you go that angle. But in
Exactly.
the
You go
more
that angle.
sympathetic, fuck
Exactly.
colonizers angle,
Mm-hmm.
like, um, and so I then said to
Hey, Gopher,
Olive,
thanks for the subscribes. Good to see ya. Sorry,
I
I just got the alert.
tell Gopher to also subscribe to me.
Gopher's rad. Gopher like is in all of my streams and has followed me for years and years, and is just a cool human.
Cool. Hi, Gopher.
We're talking about
Um,
werewolves.
yeah, the story of my life. But
What?
so
You and I are
I then,
talking about werewolves?
yeah,
That never
crazy.
happens. God.
But so then I said to Olive, like, okay, now I kind of want to make a story where coyotes are white supremacists
Ah,
because
it's a
coyotes are,
curse.
well, it's because
Villager.
coyotes are just taking over all the land that used to be filled by wolves,
Mm.
um, and are better at adapting to cities and suburbia.
Okay, do you know
Um,
that we've bred a better coyote?
I did
Arizona
not.
specifically had a policy of coyote eradication for years and years and years and years and years. And so did California. And the coyotes often will migrate between the two. And so because they were actually paying people to go out and like just shoot as many coyotes as they could. That was their job. You were just like a professional coyote hunter, which meant
Mhm,
that the only coyotes that survived to breed were the ones wily and wary enough to
mhm.
survive
Figure
this
out
like
all that shit.
really,
Yeah.
really, really, really intensive eradication. So the breeding corridor of them between California and Arizona, they found are genetically distinct from coyotes in other parts of the country, and they have all of these traits for like just like they're extra smart. They're very
Yeah.
robust, disease resistant, clever coyotes,
Well,
which means they're getting
it's
harder and
oh,
harder to kill and more frequently having run-ins with humans.
my sister has said coyotes that can catch the roadrunner. And
Yes.
Gopher, thank you for
Yes.
subscribing to my channel,
Aw.
as well. Um, but so like you know that also coyotes are now bigger in New England.
Yes.
Like
I'd heard that.
basically anywhere where there used to be wolves, the coyotes are getting bigger to fill the
Because they're
niche
just
that.
filling that niche.
Yeah.
I love coyotes.
So yeah. So I was like,
I love all trash animals. Like I love crows and ravens and magpies. They're jerks and I love them. I love
yeah.
coyotes.
But so part of me is like, I could take that angle with coyotes of them just taking all the things that wolves had to leave behind and being like, "This is mine now."
Mm.
Um,
But in indigenous lore,
mhm.
Coyote is the trickster. He's the father. He's the one who taught people how to wear clothes and to be like ashamed of being naked and like kind of all of some of that stuff. Like he's father and trickster both. He's brought great wisdom, but you don't listen to everything he says because he'll lead you wrong sometimes.
Yeah,
He's a fool, but he's also very wise.
wise idiot. Those are my
Hmm.
favorite characters. I really like himbos. Those are my new
I love
favorite
himbos.
characters now.
I mean, I
Uh,
am playing Shimbo in Trash Heroes.
a herbo, if you will.
Yeah, Herbo.
Uh,
She's great. She's very, very big and very good, well-meaning, but very dumb.
um, but yeah,
It's actually really useful because I'm running the OBS for that stream as well, and so sometimes I like my brain's doing several things at once, so I'll forget important parts of the plot. Uh, or 50% as on the ball as I would be normally with a character, and it's
mhm.
fine because it's Ugna. She's just kind of an idiot, so she's like, "What are we doing again? Why are we here?" And
It
it's in
does
character.
make
It's
playing
great.
the game easier.
Yeah.
Um, I like himbos and I like dad jokes.
Yep.
Uh, I've been reading the Adventure Zone comics, and it reminded me why Merle is my favorite character. Uh, I frequently think Justin makes the best character, but usually, sometimes their dad hits that spot where it's like, these are a lot of my favorite things all at once. Uh, if you are talking, I can't hear you. It might be my connection is mad.
No, I am here.
Okay, I
I
was
was
just
just thinking
making sure.
about them himbos. What I love.
Have you seen Skate Infinite?
No,
It's about gay skateboarder boys.
nice.
Um, and one of them is a very good himbo.
Oh, good.
It's also funny because one of the characters is a transfer from Canada. And one of the first, so like the two main characters is one is the Canadian guy and one is the guy who becomes his best buddy. Um,
Nice.
and he says to Canadian guy like, "Oh man, you been in New York?" And it's like, "No, I'm from Canada, not the U.S." Um,
I'm from Canada.
and then there's a funny joke about him being weirded out by squat toilets.
Why?
He's just never used one before, and he just doesn't. They weird him out.
Huh.
It's just like they go to a cheap hot spring in like a rural area, and he goes to the
Right.
bathroom, and it's a squat toilet, and he just sort of looks at it, and then they uh, end up at a nicer hotel, um, and he then opens the toilet there and gets very excited because it's a regular toilet.
This is a real toilet.
Um,
Man, I remember. Okay, so when I was in China visiting my grandma,
mhm.
who taught English there for many years, after she retired, she was like, I'm moving to China." Uh, I went to the Great Wall because obviously, if you're in China, you gotta go see the Great Wall of China. Like, gotta
Mhm.
go. And I'd gotten used to the squat toilet. Like that's the thing I could do, no problem. But what I was not prepared for at the Great Wall was it was like I don't remember how much it was to pay to, but it was you had to pay to use the bathroom there, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it is a long trip back, so I will pay. And then I got in there, and it was just like a big long room with no dividers in between. everybody. You were just there peeing with
You just
everybody
go.
looking at you. You just go, and there was like a granny squatting there just staring at me as I walked in the door, and I was like, "Oh, I am not prepared to pee in front of other people. This is weird." Huh. But it is a very long bus ride back to the city, so uh, that was odd. That was my moment of culture shock.
It happens.
Yep.
Uh, Me and my pal Bones are trying to plan a trip to Japan at the end of the year.
Nice.
Now that I have extra money.
Yup. I would
God,
love to go
God damn it! I put this
at
in.
some point. I would love to travel anywhere. I think for this year, I'm just going to try to get camping. Camping would be a good goal. A good COVID achievable goal. Although I
Um,
went to Saskatchewan this winter, which was sort of the opposite of a nice vacation. It was a lovely vacation seeing my family, but it was minus 52 while I was there. And I don't know if you've ever experienced minus 52.
no, and I don't want to. I don't even like.
No.
I moved to Portland because I don't like snow, and it snows
Yeah.
too much in Boston.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
You would not do well in Saskatchewan.
yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah, I was like, the thing is, there's not a ton of snow. It's a drier part of Canada. But but
It's
I
cold as
cannot.
shit.
It's cold as absolute shit. Like I was trying to explain to a friend the other day. They were like, "What does minus 52 feel like?" And I was like, "I don't even know if I can put it to words, but I will try." So like imagine just the moment you walk outside, it's like you breathed in like chlorine or something and it just sears your face and throat and lungs. And then once you get past that initial shock and you manage to drag some air into your lungs, then your face starts to burn. Like it's just it's so cold that it feels hot. It doesn't feel hot. It just burns. It's just like absolute pain on every exposed section of skin. It's a very
Yeah,
weird sensation.
no,
It's just a lot. It's a lot to
no,
deal with.
no, out. Not doing that.
But then I
Um,
lived there for like 20 years and it's just normal. Like outside just hurts sometimes.
my little sister is coming in with opinions about graduation for the
Ah,
Adventure Zone. That it was a train wreck as far as experiencing the characters. Um, there's a YouTuber, Sarah Zed,
yep.
who did a big video about um, the Adventure Zone graduation and all the quote unquote controversies around it. Really, those controversies can be summed up as Travis is a bad DM, and I guess Sarah didn't really have
Right.
a good place to complain, so she decided to make a 2 hour video about how Travis is a bad
Gotcha.
DM.
Gotcha.
Um, and, like, while she was explaining the things that were wrong with the new arc, made me go, man, I have not been paying attention because I don't remember any of this shit. Um, like, I wasn't even like, I was like, these aren't really controversies. These are just things she doesn't like. Um,
Right.
but also, I don't remember any of this happening. I guess I haven't
Right.
really paid attention the entire time. So I did
Well,
ended up unsubscribing because I was like,
you're
if
like,
I'm
I don't think
not
I'm
paying
actually paying attention to
attention,
this.
yeah, if I'm not paying attention that much, um,
Yeah.
I should probably like give my podcasting time and energy
Something else.
elsewhere. Um,
Oh God, I did the Wrapped thing at New Year's for my Spotify, and my non-music tastes are uh, startlingly predictable. I found. I was like, oh, my Wrapped says I listen to a lot of science podcasts. That tracks. Yep, I do listen. I do lots of science and dinosaurs and birds and indigenous issues. Well, that's
Mhm.
all of that is extremely predictable for me. Yep, that all
Uh, I
tracks.
have I have fallen off listening to a lot of my podcasts.
Mm,
Um, I was listening to I think what it was is I realized like um because I was zoning out on the Adventure Zone. I should probably unsubscribe to that. And then I was like, I
you
can't
zoned out
even.
on the zone.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I was like, oh, I also feel like I haven't really been paying all that much attention to my brother and me, so I ended up unsubscribing to
Right.
that.
No more bim bams.
But I kept Sawbones because those were the ones I was paying attention to. The
Right.
weird medical history.
Good. Good. Good.
Um, and it was just like a bunch of just cleaning up, like, what do I not listen to?
Hmm.
And now
Let's just get
half
that
of
off
the
my
pod,
list.
yeah, and now half of the podcasts I listen to, um, are hosted by Chris Sims. Because he does his comic podcast. Um,
Gotcha.
and then he was doing a Sailor Moon podcast that I was a
Oh,
guest
good.
on.
Good.
And
Yes,
then
Sailor Moon.
as a spin-off to his Sailor Moon podcast, he started a Xena podcast.
Oh, good.
Um,
I think you
and
were
I've
telling me
never,
about that at Emerald City.
yeah, yeah, and I've
Yes.
never seen a Xena
You'd
podcast.
never
I mean,
seen a Xena.
I'd never seen Xena, so it was kind of
I've never
like
seen a Xena.
watching. So I watched a Xena episode, listened to their podcast, watched a
Oh,
Xena
it's good.
episode, listened to
It's
their
so
podcast.
gay. It's very good.
Um, well, so here's the funny thing: is while
It's as
watching the
gay as it
first
could be in
season,
the 90s.
while watching the first season, I was like, I don't know why everyone says this is so gay. Like this is just two ladies hanging out. And then I got to the
Mhm.
second season where they're massaging each other in a tub, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, that's where the gay is.
Yep.
Um,
It was a slow burn. They wouldn't let them do it in the first season, but boy, by the second season. And then they are just gal pals hanging out the entire rest of the
yeah,
show.
they're on season 5 where Xena is pregnant, and
Hmm.
people keep repeatedly saying, "Hey, Xena, your baby needs a father," and Xena's like, "Gabrielle's the father," and I'm like,
Yep.
that's the most gay.
It's peak gay. It's very good.
um, but then, uh, what's really interesting is because these sort of episode by episode reviewing a media thing have worked out for
Hmm.
them. Um, Chris started another podcast called Apocryphals, which are
Nice.
two non-believers reading the Bible and trying not to be jerks about it. And
Good.
that is how I found out that St. Christopher's a werewolf.
Oh, good.
Because of a typo. I don't know if you know this,
No.
but basically, St. Christopher is from Canaan,
Right.
and then someone writing that down wrote K9,
Oh, good.
and then they started to draw him with a dog head
Right.
in a bunch of art.
Because he's from
So
K9.
St. Christopher's an 8-foot werewolf.
Good. Good.
Because
Good.
of a typo.
Or was it?
Uh, and the way they described the story of St. Christopher, I thought was really funny because it's basically like St. Christopher goes to God and like asks, "Hey, what can I do to prove that I'm your man?" And then
Yeah.
God is like, "Fast for this long," and he's like, "I'm gonna be honest, that sounds really hard, and I don't think I can do it."
I mean, fair.
And he goes, "All right,
I
I
do
need
like
you
food.
and he's like, I need you to pray for this long. He goes, once again, I feel like that's really hard, and I'm probably not going to follow through.
Yep.
And they're like,
Relatable.
all right,
Relatable.
help people cross this river. He's like, I can do that.
Good.
But so that's been fun. And also
I did not know that story, but I like it a lot. I like this. Like, look,
yeah,
I want to be your your dude here. I want to be your boy, but like, nothing too crazy though, right? Right?
yeah,
That's
that sounds
cool.
really hard, and I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
He knows himself well.
Yep. Points for that.
And also, kudos to God for recognizing what someone is and isn't capable of doing.
That's true. You don't see that in a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Like, here's an unreasonable demand on you that you will do somehow because you love me.
Yeah. And then so it's like those podcasts, and then I was listening to a Buffy podcast that came to an end because they finished reviewing all of Buffy.
Gotcha.
Now they're moving on to Sandman. So I have been keeping up with that, but they're not as good as regularly keeping up with it.
Right. Oh, there's a spider on my tablet. Hi, spider.
Oh,
How are you doing? It's just little.
that is not the reaction to spiders I usually have.
Oh, I'm pretty
My
sure with
reaction
spiders
to
they eat worse bugs.
yeah.
They eat real bad bugs.
I understand, but also I'm like, I don't want that near me. Kill it with fire. Actually, let's burn this whole apartment down. Like,
I am surprisingly chill with a lot of animals that a lot of people are not. That's just my reaction to animals. Is just like, you're there, you're doing your thing. Cool, good. I like it. Great. It's like other things that stress me out. Animals and me, we chill. It's good.
Yeah, Sandman is coming out on Netflix soon. So what the podcast is doing is they're actually reading the comic first. So they're going through the comic issue by issue until they get to the point that Neil Gaiman has said the first season will stop.
Gotcha.
And they're gonna do that to build up to the TV show, but because they're not like used to reading comics, they've not been as good at keeping a schedule.
Oh, gotcha. Man, making somebody goth when they are already purple is difficult.
Just give them the best eyeliner.
Yeah, purple is usually the cheat that I use when I don't want a character to just be all blacks on blacks. I'll be like, well, some of them are purple black and some of them are blue black. But this person's already purple, so it'll be a little more difficult. Good call on the eyeliner, though. I'm gonna go back and eyeliner. Some eyeliner on here.
That's why I was never goth in high school, because that is a lot of effort.
Same. I hung out with the goths under the stairs by the theater. And I was like, so what's goth about? And they're like, just wear what you like. And I was like, cool. I like your style. It's really cool, but it sounds expensive and also hard to maintain. And they're like, yeah, it kind of is. And I was like, great. I'm just going to continue to wear my jeans and stuff. And they're like, that's rad. Wear what makes you happy. I'm like, good. I like your philosophy. We could be pals. The under the stairs goths. I miss them.
I hung out with the overachiever kids in high school.
I hung out with the Christian girls. I did not mean to. And there was a whole problem when they held an intervention for me because I was not Christian. And that was a problem.
Oh, no.
And that was that
Um,
was that was a whole thing where I was like, y'all, I don't like the Catholic Church because they genocided my people. And they were like, well, that is fair, I guess. Like, yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
is.
fair complaint.
Yeah, yeah, and we could be
Um,
friends if you weren't cool with that.
and then the well, if you want to learn weird Bible stories that no one talks about, Apocryphals is very funny. Um, and goes over some interesting shit, like history wise as well, since they don't believe it. Uh, but so, like I said, I hung out with all the overachiever kids,
Mm,
who were all taking a million AP classes.
right,
Um,
right.
for, and so we didn't really hang out that much out of school because
Because
everyone
you
was
had a million
studying.
things going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That's a purple I can use. That's a red purple.
and so I remember um, being like, well, I want to go to art school, and art school doesn't need most of these as AP classes.
Yeah.
So the only AP class I took was calculus, um, because I was like, if I pass this test, I never have to take math again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
That
I
sounds
remember
great.
one time before school, all my friends were stressing out with their giant stacks of books, um, and I was sitting there drawing while they panicked. And then one of my
Right.
friends looked at me and then looked at all of our other friends and then said, I think Kel might be the smartest one here.
Like, yep, no stress here. Just vibes.
Just art.
Yep. Just art.
All arts, all the time.
Yep. I knew pretty early I wanted to do art as well. But my mom was always like, you are super smart and native, so therefore you must be an overachiever and get all the great grades and be a doctor or something. And I was like, yeah, but no, though. I have no interest in being a medical doctor. Uh, I was vaguely thinking about being a scientist at one point where I was like, I like biology. Biology is really cool. I could maybe study animals or anatomy or something. But nope, art, all the time. That's me.
All art, all the time. I'm sitting here thinking about Mad Men still. Um,
I was
I
thinking about how
remember.
J-Ro. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I remember when I watched the Mad Men finale. It was during C2E2, so I was on Spike's couch,
Ah, cool.
and we watched it together. And then Spike tweeted the ending, like 5 minutes after it aired. The West
Spike,
Coast hadn't even gotten it yet.
Spike.
Um,
Go,
uh,
Spike.
and then she did get yelled at and deleted it.
Good.
Um,
Spoiler,
and I
Spike.
tweeted, Spike tweeted the spoilers for the series finale of Mad Men. When it
Spike.
hadn't even aired on the West Coast. She is a monster. Um,
Good.
uh, and then I remember Spike liked it because it was not historically inaccurate about people's views on race and stuff.
Mm.
Because it's easy to be like, oh, we want our character to be sympathetic, so
Yeah.
we're gonna make them more progressive than they would be as rich
Mm-hmm.
white people in the 60s.
Yup.
And
I know they did that with
instead,
the Temeraire novels where they were like, well, this guy's going to be a British naval captain, but he's got to be an abolitionist because like the British Navy was still pretty doing some slavery at that point in time. So,
yep.
yep.
Whereas, like, Mad Men has Peggy, who is the most sympathetic character, like the one that people root for the most.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where she meets her boyfriend at a bar, um, and he tells her about all his political things because he's involved in
Right.
counterculture. And he's
Right.
telling her how badly black men are treated.
Mm-hmm.
And then she counters with white feminism, and they basically get into an
Yep.
argument over who has it worse, black men or
Mm-hmm.
white women. And he is super dismissive of women's issues, and she is
Right.
like, well, I got a job by
Right. So it can't
working
be that
hard,
bad.
even though
Yeah.
sexism was against me. And like, it never occurs to them, neither of them, that black women exist.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
um, and then like, I told you, Pete is the most progressive, but in the like, I can make money off everybody. Everyone has money and
Mm-hmm.
I want it,
Yep.
sort of way. Um, and one of the um, heads of the company is a big Ayn Rand fan.
Oh boy.
Um, and is even older than the rest of the cast. Um, so there's an episode where the secretaries have to get rearranged because of various reasons.
Yeah.
Um, and the black secretary, the only black secretary,
Mm-hmm.
ends up getting put at the front desk to greet people in the
Yep.
lobby. And there's a scene where the old guy walks out to leave and sees her sitting there and then turns around and goes to say that she cannot sit there because people can see her from the elevator.
Right. Yep.
Uh, and just stuff like that.
Yep. I should put some lace on her shirt.
Anyway, that's another good show full of awful people.
I'm sensing a theme here. I'm sensing your
Yeah.
tastes. Tastes in cinema.
My favorite animated show is BoJack Horseman. It's like existential despair with a
Oh
smile.
God, man, that show was hard to watch. It's a very good show, but I had to take it in chunks. It was, whew. I tell you, I'm blanking on the voice actor's name. Come on, he's a one voicer. He does that voice. The guy who's BoJack Horseman.
Oh, Will Arnett.
Will Arnett. Yes, thank you. Uh, was on a commercial at one of the radio stations in town here, and they'd clearly chopped it down for time because it's Will Arnett doing his Will Arnett voice, which is also his BoJack Horseman voice. But
Hmm.
they cut out the part of the ad where he says, "I'm BoJack Horseman," and blah 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 blah. And so instead, you just have Will Arnett being like, "Man, you got to get this product because it'll like make you feel great and stuff." Anyway, I'm a horse, and then it signs off, and you're like,
Back
if you were
in the
unaware of the
90s.
existence of BoJack Horseman, this would be a very weird radio ad.
A couple of years ago, before
Oh,
the
look, it's a
end,
horse now.
before BoJack Horseman wrapped up,
Yeah.
I was listening to the audiobook of Disney More,
Mm.
which is all about Michael Eisner's rise and fall at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And while listening to it, I was like,
Fascinating.
huh, I wonder what Michael Eisner is doing now, because I haven't really heard about things he's been doing. And Googled it, and the first headline that pops up is Will Eisner fights unionization of the animators that make BoJack Horseman. And it's like, oh, that's
Yep.
what he's doing.
That's
Sounds
what he's
about
doing.
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
Sounds like a thing he'd do.
Right. Very in keeping. Goodbye. Hey, Titmouse got unionized today. That's
Unionized.
exciting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I know
And
a
that's
couple friends
also
who work
great.
there, so that's rad.
It's also great because like the Animation Guild has mostly just been LA, so getting it
Yes.
outside of LA,
Yes.
even with if it wasn't Titmouse, like anywhere, like
Yep.
is great.
There's quite a few animation companies in town. So I
and
am
then
glad there's some union.
Image is unionizing.
Right. I heard.
But some people are being shitheads about that. Some
You
Image
said
people
some
are being.
and then paused, and my brain went, buddy,
It's
because I have been broken.
okay.
Okay, when you're at Gen Con, Sam, Logan, and I,
I'm not going to Gen Con, I'm just San Diego.
No.
Yeah.
No. I didn't think so. Gen Con's kind of its own thing. But when you're at Gen Con, Sam, Logan, and I were working on commissions, and we kind of went crazy because we were so tired, because it's a long show. And we would almost, like, we would just reply to each other with lines from Smash Mouth songs all weekend. And now my brain is broken, and I will just default to that.
I know we talked about how you're unfamiliar with the Hbomberguys things. So he did a thing on climate change.
Yeah.
And he says some lines of, the icy's on is getting thin, but the water's getting warm, so we might as well swim. Smash Mouth is about climate change. Change my mind. Yeah, I'm in a comics Discord that has some older comic folks in there. Not all of them are very happy.
I wonder which ones are missing.
About
don't say it on air,
happening.
Yeah.
It's no one that you're familiar with.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I had to look up who this guy was while he was complaining.
Gotcha.
I don't think
there's a good song to sing to twins because it's like, sorry, I just responded to my chat here, but it's a song that you know very well and has a lot of different lyrics and is fun to sing. Sing nonsense to babies. It's great. They get to learn words. That's not what I wanted. Where is my splash? There's a good splash.
The leftist news show that I watch on YouTube
Yep.
over Christmas did a joke thing where what if their show was in the Marvel universe?
Like the MCU, so like the snap happened and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, like they start with like, hey, has anyone noticed that like there are way more explosions happening? Like they start with phase one, like what their show
Oh,
would be
good.
like during phase one. Like there was a
Right.
demon tornado in New Mexico, and I guess that just
Yeah.
happens now.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I feel like
um,
reality's kind of like that because it's sort of like, hey, so bomb cyclones and thunder snow, those are things. They're just things that happen now. Okay,
yeah,
cool, cool.
that's kind of their response. So I guess that's just a thing we gotta live with
That's
now.
we just got demon tornadoes
Um,
or something. That's just a
uh,
thing.
and then they're like, there's also been an uptick of robot attacks.
Yep,
And
there's been
because
a
they
lot
don't
of robot
know about
attacks.
all the different types of superpowers, they assume Thor is a robot, and so is the
Right.
thing that he
Yeah.
fought in Thor 1, and so is the Hulk. Like, that they're all robots.
Right.
And
That's
they're
a
like,
reasonable
but maybe
assumption.
this. Yeah, but maybe. Because since they all came out after Iron Man.
Yeah. They're
Um,
all
and then
robots. They're
it's.
just all Iron
And
Man
then it's.
robots.
And then it's also like long-haired guy with electric powers. Is
Yeah.
Thor the guy that interrupted the race that Tony Stark was in? Like if you didn't know what was going
Yeah.
on, hey, there's a long-haired guy with lightning powers here, and then one over here. Clearly, there can't be more than one.
No, obviously
Um,
not. That's ridiculous.
yeah. Um,
I imagine in the Marvel universe they're talking about superheroes kind of in the way that we talk about variants, where they're like, yeah, well, there's this new one that like does this now, and you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, like he like shoots lightning from his hands. I thought there was a different lightning guy. I thought like wasn't he like in like no, that guy's from space. I'm pretty sure this guy was from New York. I can see them having that conversation on Twitter.
yeah. Um, so those are pretty funny. Um, I watch a lot of YouTube.
hmm I I got back into listening to podcasts because when I am drawing, I need words in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which is also why streaming like this helps because I can like have words in my brain and draw, which is great.
Same,
Um,
same.
yeah. But there was one point there where I was listening to a bunch of podcasts and it was all science podcasts, and I was just like, oh, I love science podcasts. Science is great, love it, having fun, great. However, I am noticing that every single podcast that I listen to is by a white guy, and there are some glaring oversights in some of the where science kind of gives way to world world topics. I was like, I'm feeling this lack strongly. I'm gonna go listen to some other kind of podcasts, and they too, like Mavim Bams and the other stuff some of my friends were listening to. I was like, these are also white men who have that sort of blank spot in their worldview that I am finding a lack
Mm-hmm.
of. What is it I want? What is it I want? And then I like found a black woman scientist who was talking about things, and she had a really interesting like decolonial bent to a bunch of the information she was giving out, and I was like, oh, this
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 is
is what I
what you
was
want.
missing.
Yeah,
This is what I
yeah.
wanted. Cool, thank you, good. I've now put it into words. And then that's when I went and found a bunch of indigenous podcasts, and I'm like, I am also missing this. I want this in my life. There's some very good ones. There's
Um,
one with Tio Horn, who is on Letterkenny. and it's called Coffee with My Ma, and it's her and her mom has lived this like fascinating life, and Tio basically is just like interviewing her and just letting her mom talk, and her mom's got these amazing, crazy, ridiculous stories. Very good podcast.
Oh, nice. I've been watching this YouTuber from Vietnam who she basically explains um, socialism working in practice, like in a
Cool.
modern country and like how it works in Vietnam.
Oh,
So
neat.
it's kind of like, because she knows a lot of like leftists in the UK and the US and
Yeah,
Canada, and they're all theory because they haven't lived under actual socialism. Um,
right.
and she's like, okay, so when you live under actual socialism, these are cool things that get done.
Yeah,
Like Vietnam has the lowest COVID cases because
right.
people before the economy. Um,
Right. That makes
and
good sense.
and also, if you did care about the economy, their economy appears to be the one that bounced back the fastest because
Yeah,
they
because
told people like stay home and we're gonna shut
yeah,
everything down
yeah,
like
we're gonna pay you to
properly.
stay home and do a pressure break on this and actually calm down COVID before it gets completely out of control.
My sister would
That's
like the
smart.
name of the podcast that you mentioned,
Oh,
Alina.
it's called How to
So
Save a Planet.
if you put them in, type them in our Discord chat. I'll put them in my
Sweet.
Twitch chat.
Yeah, it's called How to Save the Planet. I don't remember the lady's name, but I will Google it real quick. It's real good. It's how to try and like when you're feeling climate doom, listen to this
Mm,
podcast
good. Uh,
by Gimlet Media. Kendra Pierre Louis. Very good. All right,
alright.
I'm putting it in the Discord so we can put it in the chat.
Yeah, so like a thing like that she's mentioned, the Vietnamese lady that I mentioned
Hmm.
has been doing is um she went over like that lawn space between the sidewalk and the street. In
Yep,
Vietnam, people just grow vegetables there,
oh yeah,
and anyone can
that's
take
smart.
them.
Yeah,
Um,
you do that in parts of Vancouver as well, but only
yeah,
only some parts.
but and like in Portland, it's like specific lots
Yeah.
that are supposedly for the whole community, but like there's still a fence around them. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
They're not like, please come in and take these if you are hungry.
yeah, they're like for this particular apartment complex,
Yeah,
rather than like the whole city.
we're not good at collectivist
Um,
thinking yet.
yeah. Um, it is um, almost time to
Almost.
wrap up.
Time to wrap up. Yeah.
Um, Part of me wants to just show my Twitch uh, kitten mittens because that's
Mittens.
like 2 minutes.
Kitten mittens.
Um,
I'm just gonna keep shading this in.
Hold on, I have to make sure that the sound is getting to folks.
Oh yeah, this is not a character from the same setting. Gopher. This one's a commission, but still a really cool character. Dragonborn rogue.
Yay, Dragonborn.
Dragonborn are cool, and I like drawing them. I drew
Okay.
like nothing but dragons between the time I was like 10 and 14. Those skills are coming in handy now.
It's important.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm gonna play Kitten Mittens on my Twitch if you would like to also watch it. It's a like 1.5 minute video.
Local business owner and cat enthusiast. Is your cat making too much noise all the time? Is your cat constantly stomping around, driving you crazy? Is your cat clawing at your furnitures? Think there's no answer? You're so stupid. There is. Kitten Mittens. Finally, there's an elegant, comfortable mitten for cats. I couldn't hear anything. Is your cat one-legged? Is your cat fat, skinny, or an in-between? That doesn't matter, because one size fits all. Kitten Mittens, you'll be smitten. So come on down to Patty's Pub. We're the home of the original Kitten Mittens. Meow.
Well, that's not the color I intended at all, but I like that.
It's a good green dragonborn person.
Thank y'all.
The best part of the Kitten Mittens video is he like gets up close against the screen at the big end and he goes meow. So I did layouts for 2.5 You Are the Chosen One pages.
Nice. I drew
So
1 and a bit dragonborn.
it's a very stylish dragonborn.
Thank you. I like their green color palette. Green's not a choice I see people make a lot often. I like it.
So I went with blue for my dragonborn bard because I wanted them to be a lightning dragon with
Yes,
an electric
lightning
guitar.
is very cool. Oh,
with
good.
an electric guitar. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
important
I like
part.
that a lot. I like that a lot.
It's important.
That's very important.
And I was like, that's the mission for my character: get an electric guitar in this fantasy
You could
setting.
Fury Road it too, and like be playing the electric guitar and also lightninging. Just shooting off some bolts.
And I think the thing that made me realize I'm not gonna like fighting in D&D is I lightning breathed the river.
Right.
And didn't get to electrocute everything in the river.
I wish that D&D's element system worked like Pokemon. It doesn't necessarily. There are
Listen,
certain
they're in
circumstances
the
in which it
water.
does, but that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That should
Yeah.
electrocute everything.
Yes.
But no, it only does whatever damage that your breath weapon says it does, which sucks.
Yeah.
And they really nerfed Dragonborn, so the breath weapon doesn't do a ton of damage, but whatever. At higher levels, it does better damage.
That's good.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
For some drawing hangouts,
once
we will do it
again-
again next week.
Yep. Once again, you can find my comics at calmcdonald.com.
And you can find my comics at alina-pete.com or weargeek.com.
Right. And once again, thank you for watching.